In 1979, when the Beast debuted at Kings Island, it kind of brought a new tradition with it. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics. Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans, because that's who we are, and that's who we care about the most. So, Don, the Beast and the American Coaster Enthusiast, they kind of grew up hand in hand a little bit, didn't they?
They did. The American Coaster Enthusiast, otherwise known as ACE, they really launched in 1978, so a year before the Beast debuted in 1979. But the Beast, is a phenomenon. When it first opened, it established records. The longest, the fastest, the tallest, coaster out there, and it garnered interest worldwide. And obviously, it caught the attention of these new members of the American Coaster Enthusiast. And as Kings Island opened the 1979 season and the Beast on April 14th of that year, uh, different ACE members, were making it down every weekend specifically to ride this coaster. Now, along the way, as these people are coming from, Detroit, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Los Angeles, Europe,
Hmm.
everywhere, to ride it, the PR manager at Kings Island at the time, Ruth Voss, she was meeting these people because she was spending a lot of time, different TV crews and that back at the ride when it first opened. And she saw the shirts, American Coaster Enthusiasts, that they were wearing, started asking questions about it. And as they got into the middle of May, she thought of every weekend, there's 50, 60 of these people coming from outside our market just to ride this ride. We should do something special for them. So on May 19th, the first ever Ace Walkback to the Beast was born. And what that entailed was about 20 minutes, 15 minutes before the park opened, she would meet them out on International Street, and she would personally escort them back to the Beast where they were going to get the first ride of the day. Now, sometimes ACE members would not only get the first ride of the day, but they might get on early enough to get that second ride. Now, there was a lot of value in that because back in 1979 and the early 80s, the wait time could be rather long, sometimes, getting up to 2+ hours. So there was a lot of value in being there right when the park opened, so you could get those first rides as an ACE member. It was a nice perk for ACE members. It helped drive some memberships in those early years, and it was great for the Beast because every time that ACE members would go to the park from all over the country and all over the world, they would go back to their home cities and they were like the best salespeople out on the street talking about how great this ride was and talking to other ACE members. Now, that just led to a lot more people coming. So it was a great relationship between Kings Island and Ace.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not the story of Ace is, we've discussed that on the Attractions Group podcast, how they got founded. But I would say, just based on the story you told me, it seems like almost like the Beast galvanized Ace because they formed, and then they immediately the next year found something they can all get behind. Oh, Ace members get to go and ride the Beast first. Well, I want to be part of that. I think that's awesome. Now I remember during the Paramount years there was a plaque in the ground. It was like stone, and it said, Paramount's Kings Island salutes the American coaster enthusiast. Was that just during Paramount, or did they have that earlier and then they replaced it with a Paramount one?
Well, the Stone went in during the Paramount years, but there was a meeting place in that same neighborhood at the time for Ace members. There used to be tables, sitting outside in that
Hmm.
area, and right where the restrooms are right there in the corner, and you got the gift shop and everything. But there was just a bunch of tables that were there, and that's where the Ace members would just kind of gather, sit at the tables, and that's when Ruth would come out and meet the Ace members and escort them back to the Beast.
Yeah. So I have always heard the legend, and since you knew Ruth Voss, then maybe you can, confirm or deny that one of the early sources of this was that Ruth used to like to ride the Beast in the morning because she felt like it helped her with her arthritis, and that she would invite the Ace members to ride along with her. Is there truth to that?
She would ride it in the morning to help her arthritis, but she wanted to do something for the ACE members who were coming from all over, you know, the country and the world really to ride the Beast. So she wanted to do something special for them. So, that was a part of it. It wasn't because she wanted to do something for arthritis and ride with them. It was just one of those things that kind of happened at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that she had selfish intentions, but that her riding the beast in the morning
But
had
no,
a
but true. I mean,
backstory.
she did feel a lot better. Yeah, she did feel much, much better after riding the beast in the morning because it really did help with her arthritis. And later in her career, her final season there was 1989. I just remember how hard it was. I would go and visit her in the office, and how hard it was for her to physically, like, type and write press releases and that, just how bad her hands hurt and stuff. So, yeah, there was 100% legitimacy to that story about she would write it for her arthritis.
Oh, that's fascinating. Now the tradition continued up through the Cedar Fair years, and then logistics kind of put an end to it because they started doing early ride times for all the Gold Pass holders. Um,
Well, it kind of got away a little bit too, in right before uh, the Cedar Fair years. They'd opened up some other coasters, and sometimes people wanted to go, ride those rides first in the morning. So they kind of sometimes would even just let them all choose where they wanted to go,
yeah.
in the morning. And whether, and this was also after Paramount about the park, but like do you want to go to the Beast? Do you want to go to Son of Beast? It was one of those kind of things. But as we got into the first couple of years of Cedar Fair owning Kings Island, 2008, was the last year that this was a thing with the Ace Walkback. Now, I would go out and I would have a book and I would want to have everybody sign, where they were coming from. I wanted to know, and who was here and who came the most to do the early ride times. Uh, but the next year for 2009, when Diamondback opened, the decision was made that Gold Pass holders were going to get early ride time on select attractions. One of those was the Beast at that time. So it was Diamondback, the Beast. So it kind of made it a situation where you just couldn't do it anymore.
Hmm.
So everybody had passes. They were still going to be one of the first in line for it. So it just kind of you could look at early ride time as what really ended the Ace Walkback.
So, if I recall, like the numbers were kind of diminishing too, to a certain extent. Like they didn't have people every day anymore, and it was just far more common when you got to ride the Beast, and the Beast always had a 2 hour line. So there was an allure to get to the park early and participate in them.
Oh yeah, when I was riding the racer in the '80s, we'd get there in the morning, and I always would get a couple of beast rides in before I headed over to the racer. And we're talking Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There could be 30, 40 Ace members there. There was always at least 15 or 20, but you would have some of those days where they were more on the weekend. A lot of people. So by the time we get to 2008, and I'm out there taking Ace members back to the ride. Yeah, there were days that there was two or three, and there would be days there'd be 15 or 20.
Mhm.
Uh, it was still something people wanted to do, but it wasn't in the droves like it was, in the earlier years. It had kind of dwindled down, um, and it was hard, because when you have these traditions, it's hard to end them. All good things do come to an end, and that's what happened after the end of the 2008 season. I knew that we could not continue it,
Mhm.
when we had early ride time, and so it came to an end. People still asked about it, years later. I would get emails and phone calls. Ace members were coming from wherever, and they would say, "Hey, do you guys still do the Ace Walkback? Haven't been there in 15 years." You have to tell them no, that we don't. But it was a nice perk. Got to meet a lot of people that way. I mean, I would attribute, you know, a good percentage of the people that I got to know over the years to doing that Ace Walkback. And there were some members that I met on those walkbacks that ended up being in my wedding party. Some from Milwaukee, some from Detroit, some from Chicago. So became really good friends with these people. It was always good to hear whether I was an ACE member walking back, being escorted by park officials, or in my role as the PR person at Kings Island, taking the people back. It was always great to hear, where these different ACE members, were from, what their favorite coasters were, what they liked best about, rides like the Beast. It was just always, one of my favorite things to do, either as an ACE member or working for the park.
Yeah. So when you announced that, they were gonna end the tradition, I had no pony in the game because 'cause I've never been a member of ACE, but, um, I remember kinda feeling it for him because that was probably one of their longest running traditions. What was the reaction like? I know that your relationship with ACE is pretty was I mean, you're a member now, so obviously nobody threatened you or anything, but there had to have been some disappointment.
Yeah, absolutely. There was disappointment. It was tradition. It was what they looked forward to. It made them feel special. and that was no longer there. So yeah, it was hard, and it was hard for me to deliver that news because the Ace Walkback was a big part of my memories of Kings Island and how many friends in that, like I mentioned before, that I had made through that. It was, part of the tradition of starting my day at Kings Island was doing the Ace Walkback. So I knew exactly what they were, going to think, what they were going to feel, and um, so yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, I imagine. Well, now, Gold Pass holders have different benefits, and I mean, that in 2008, it was obviously Diamondback. Well, 2009, it was Diamondback because that was the new ride. But nowadays, it rotates, so things change, and it was a great tradition, though. And as you mentioned, got to make a lot of people happy and meet a lot of good people and stuff. All right, well, I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.